This is a video on email etiquette. I'll go over certain topics you should consider when writing a professional email. So if you have just started a job or an internship, or you are on a job search, you may find this video useful. So the sample email that we will create, I will pretend I am applying for a job. So I am an applicant applying for a job at ABC Corporation for a position as a project manager. The topics that I will consider first, you should always consider the audience. So in this case, the person we're going to say is Mr. Sanchez. So that's the person that I'm applying to. So, and then the next, the first subject I will go over, or the first topic I will go over, is the subject. So the subject. The subject, you want to be as clear and concise as possible. So I am an applicant. I'm applying to a project manager role. Maybe there's a specific department. I would list that here. And then I would put my first and last name. Very clearly and concisely, if they see this subject in the email heading, they know if they should read it right then, if they should wait till later so they can dedicate the appropriate time, or forward it on to the appropriate person. It notifies them of the content of the email so that they can make decisions quickly, and so it's considerate of their time. Next, I'll go over the structure of the email. Overall structure is there is a greeting. Then there's the introduction, the body, paragraphs. There may be one, there may be several. The closing, your name, and then contact info. So that's an example of a professional email. This is very standard. This is the format that you should use for professional emails inside and outside organizations. So let's talk about the greeting. The greeting, they can be formal or informal. Informal greetings that you are probably used to using with people that you know. Hi, hello, or maybe no greeting at all. Those are informal, and if you're emailing to a potential employer or colleagues, you would not use those. For formal, you either put their name only. You could put greetings. You could, those are usually the two that I use, putting their name completely, or put greetings. If you don't know the person, and you're just sending it to an organization to whom it may concern, is an appropriate greeting for an introduction. So those are some examples of things that are acceptable. So I'll put greeting Mr. Sanchez. So that's another thing. In formal, you would in a formal setting, you would want to use Mr. And Miss when appropriate. And the reason you always open with the person's name is, let's say, a person receives a lot of emails and they're, usually on Teams. If the opening of the email says the person's name, the person knows that they have to read that email. And if it doesn't say the person's names and it jumps right into the message, the person wastes time reading the message, having to figure out if the message is directed toward them or if they just need to be informed of what to do. So it is considerate to start with the person's name. The introduction, you want to be as clear and concise as possible. I call it, one thing that you should use is the cell phone battery principle, meaning that if you were on a cell phone with Mr. Sanchez and you only had 2 minutes, 2 sentences to say before your cell phone died, what would you say? Those are the sentences you would like to put here. So, my name is, and you would put your first and last name, and I am applying for the project manager position in, you could list the, at ABC Corporation for the Houston, Texas office. Very clearly, one sentence. I'm sure you could work on making this more clear and concise, but very clearly one sentence. The intent of this message is, irrefutable. It's right there. It's all up front, and that's what you want to do. You want to be as clear as possible and put everything up front. The following paragraphs, you put a sentence. I'm going to talk about my background. So put, I have recently graduated from XYZ University with a degree in business management. My internship experience was involved organizing activities for a let's say what kind of activity. Let's say management activities for a construction projects in Boston, Massachusetts. So very clearly and very quickly, you give a brief background of what you're doing. It is different than the intro, so it's separated by a sentence, it provides some context. Attached is my resume and cover letter. I have also applied to the position on the company website. So three quick paragraphs, and then I'm going to put a thank you. Thank you for considering my candidacy. Yep. See, I look forward to hearing from ABC Corporation about future opportunities. So very quickly, the paragraphs are very small. I like to keep them to 4 sentences on an email. It might seem brief, but in an email, 4 sentences could be on a mobile device. 4 sentences could seem very, very long. So this is an example of how you would lay out an email. Very clear, concise, to the point. If it requires further explanation, then that's something that you should set up a conversation for some sort of follow-up. So brief, clear, concise. You notice I don't use any abbreviations, ABC and XYZ. You should put the full names there if you know them. Those are just placeholders. So I'll abbreviate. No abbreviations. Also no emoticons. No smiley faces, and it's just not professional in the work environment. It's something that you should not use. So no abbreviations, no smiley faces. Make sure if you do put an attachment, I don't recommend an attachment if you don't have to, but if you do, make sure you clearly reference it in the email. Also, make sure that let's talk about the closing, since sincerely and regards are professional closers. You can also say warm regards. It is up to you. This is a personal preference. One thing that I would also consider is, when you're entering your email, when you're entering your contact info at the bottom, do restate your email. If you have let's say you love the beach and you have walks on the beach at gmail.com, that is not an acceptable email. You want to have an email like first dot last, let's say that's your first name dot your last name at Gmail, or whatever the email may be, but the personalized email may come off as unprofessional. This is not something that you want to use. Another thing that you should also consider is when including your cell phone as a contact. Make sure that you are able to answer this in a professional manner, in a quiet setting, or if you don't know the number, let it go to voicemail so that you can answer it in a professional setting. So, a contact number and the email. The reason you want to include these, even though you send them the email, they know the email, is because they might print out the message and it might go through a system where your email is not in this message, and you want them to have it if they need to contact you. Another thing you should consider is the To CC and the BCC fields. The To field is the person you are directing the message to. The C field are the people that you want to see the message, but they may not be the intended recipient. So here, the To field would be Mr. Sanchez. The CC field, maybe you met other people that Mr. Sanchez knows about in the company, and you want to let them know, that you're applying. So you want them to see the message, so they can see each other on the message. BCC is, the secret recipient that you want to get the message, but they won't see who it was. They won't see the To address or the CC address, and these people will not see them. And an example is, let's say you're applying to your first job and you want your mother to know that you're applying to your first job and to get this message. So that's an example of a person that you would put in the BCC field. It is not, professional to put them in the CC field, because then your manager and other people will know, and see that person and go, okay, why are they on the CC field? But if you want them to know, this is the place to put the secret recipient. Another thing to look out for is spelling. There is no excuse not to spell check. An example: C, graduated. But just looking over the message and making sure that there are no spelling mistakes. Make sure you reread the document. Don't write in all caps. A, B, C, and X, Y, Z are in caps, but those, it should only be written how the company name is written. So if it is written as such, A, B, C, with a lowercase b and c, write it the way the company message is written. Don't write everything in all caps. It comes off as you're yelling. And another thing to remember, this email represents your brand. It is a one-page advertisement for you when you're sending it off to an employer. It's your first impression. Make sure you make a strong impression, and take time to reread. Make sure it's professional, and that it's formatted properly and laid out and very clear and concise.